In a world where pride wears makeup and kindness hides in plain sight, one father dares to test the heart of a woman, to save his son from a lifetime mistake. A splash of muddy water, a stranger's insult, and a secret that will shake everything. This is not just a love story. It's a test of truth. A war between pride and peace. It was a quiet, rainy afternoon. The sky had cried heavy tears, and now the streets were full of puddles. Big ones. Small ones. Muddy ones. All along the road, brown water made everything look messy. On a wooden bench beside the road sat an old man named Grandpa Joba. He was gentle-looking, with a calm face and kind eyes. His clothes were old and faded. His slippers were almost broken. But he didn't mind. He had just finished sweeping in front of a small shop and was resting before walking home. As he sat there quietly watching the world go by, a loud noise came rushing through the narrow street. Boom! A shiny black SUV was speeding down the road, fast and proud. It didn't slow down. It didn't care. Then, splash. The car hit a huge puddle, and a heavy wave of muddy water flew up into the air like a wild monster. It slammed right into Grandpa Joba, soaking him from head to toe. His shirt, trousers, and even his worn-out slippers were dripping with brown, smelly water. People nearby gasped and turned. A woman shouted, "Hey! Look what you just did!" But the car didn't stop right away. It rolled forward a little, then stopped just ahead. The window slowly rolled down. A woman's voice came from inside. Her voice was cold and proud. "You shouldn't sit so close to the road, old man. This isn't your village." Then the window went up again and the car zoomed off. The street went silent. "Did she just say that?" a man asked, his mouth open wide. "Wicked woman," another lady hissed. "Can't she even say sorry?" "That's too much," someone else added. "Grandpa Joba is always nice to everyone. Why treat him like trash?" But Grandpa Joba slowly lifted one shaky hand and said softly, "It's okay. Leave her. Let God be the judge." Far away from the muddy street, the proud woman in the black SUV parked her car at a fancy shopping mall. Her name was Zena. She was beautiful, rich, and loud. As she stepped out, her phone buzzed. She took a selfie, head high, lips painted, and posted it with the caption, "Only the strong walk over the weak. Boss Queen nail polish crowned." Within minutes, comments poured in. "That's Slay Queen. Teach them. Power moves only." Zena smiled proudly. She thought nothing of what happened earlier. To her, poor people were nothing, no voice, no value. Meanwhile, Grandpa Joba arrived home. But his home wasn't what people expected. It wasn't a broken hut or a small shack. It was a huge mansion, so big and so beautiful that people driving by often slowed down just to look. Inside the mansion, soft carpets lay on the floor. The walls had paintings worth millions. Everything sparkled. But Grandpa Joba didn't care about any of that. He just wanted peace. As he walked in, still wet from the splash, his son, Daniel, looked up from the couch. "Papa, what happened to you?" Daniel asked, standing quickly. Grandpa Joba gave a small smile. Nothing. Just another day outside." Daniel sighed. "Papa, again? Why do you go to those places? Why sit by the road? You live in a mansion now. You don't need all that." But the old man shook his head. "I will never stop going out, Daniel. Not until I find you a good woman." Daniel dropped the tablet in his hand. "Papa, not again." "Yes, again," Grandpa Joba said firmly. "You are 36 years old. You need a wife who will build with you, not just enjoy what you already have." Daniel rubbed his forehead. "Papa, I have a girlfriend." The old man sat up. "You do?" Daniel nodded slowly. "Yes, but she's not exactly what you're hoping for." Grandpa Joba leaned in. "Tell me about her." Daniel hesitated. "She's rude. Very rude. She doesn't respect people. She looks down on them." "She's proud," Daniel continued. "She talks like everyone else is trash. And worst of all, she spends money like water. Shoes, bags, clothes, all just to show off." Grandpa Joba was silent for a while. Then he asked softly, "Does she respect you?" Daniel shrugged. Sometimes. Does she respect herself? Daniel didn't answer. The old man sighed deeply. My son. I have watched people all my life. I know women. I know what peace looks like. And I know what pride smells like. You need a woman who will bring peace into your home, not one who will bring fire and noise. Daniel nodded slowly. I understand. Good, Grandpa Joba said. Now bring her home. Let me see her with my own eyes. Don't tell her anything. Let her come as she is. I want to see her real face. Daniel chuckled nervously. You want to surprise her? Grandpa Joba smiled. No. I want her to surprise herself. The next afternoon, Grandpa Joba sat on a bench outside a big supermarket. He wore his usual old clothes and had a small bowl near his feet. Some people dropped coins. Most ignored him. He didn't beg. He just watched. Then came the sound again. A loud engine, music blasting, and a black SUV. Zena stepped out of the car. Her sunglasses were dark, her lips were red, her words were sharp. She saw Grandpa Joba and hissed. You again, she snapped. You this old dirty man. Why do you keep disgracing your generation like this? She didn't wait for a reply. Do you enjoy sitting here like a goat? Poor people like you have no shame. Still, Grandpa Joba said nothing. Look at your clothes. Look at your face. You're the reason this country is backward. She even spat near his feet. People walked by, some stopped. But no one spoke. Until one voice cut through the noise. Enough. Zena turned quickly. A young woman with 2 bags of groceries had stepped forward. Who are you? Zena barked. Someone who still has sense, the girl replied. Her name was Amara. Zena laughed. Another poor rat? Amara didn't flinch. You're insulting a man old enough to be your father. Zena shouted. Is he my father? Amara's eyes narrowed. Maybe not. But at least he has more value than you. Zena's smile faded. Do you know who I am? I can destroy you. You're loud, Amara said calmly. But that's not the same as being strong. Zena's face turned red. She stepped forward. Amara stood her ground. One day, this man you insulted might be the one you'll need to bow to. Zena shook with anger, but Amara pointed at the road. Now take your proud legs, and leave. Zena stared hard, then turned and walked away, burning with shame. Amara turned to Grandpa Joba and said softly, I'm sorry, sir. The old man looked at her, smiled gently and said, Thank you, my daughter. After Zena stormed off like a dark cloud, Amara sat beside Grandpa Joba. She placed her grocery bags on the ground and looked at him with soft eyes. Papa, what's your name? She asked gently. The old man smiled. People just call me Grandpa Joba. Amara smiled back. I'm Amara. Nice name, he said. You have a brave heart. Amara laughed a little. I just couldn't watch her treat you like that. It made my stomach turn. She paused, then asked quietly, Papa, where do you stay? Grandpa Joba hesitated. He gave her a small, sad smile. When you lose everything, life teaches you wisdom. But not everyone listens. Amara looked around. Then an idea lit up in her eyes. Papa, I studied agriculture in school. I'm a graduate. It's been a year, no job. My parents are poor farmers back in the village. He nodded slowly. You've come far. I've been thinking, she continued. Instead of just sitting here, maybe I can help you. Behind the store, we can start a small farm. Just okra, tomatoes, maybe pepper. It won't be much, but it will give food. And maybe hope. Grandpa Joba stared at her in surprise. You want to help me farm? Yes, Papa, she said brightly. I don't have money, but I have strength. I can work. I don't want you sitting here with a bowl anymore. You deserve better. He sat there quietly, moved by her words. You're too kind, he whispered. She shook her head. No, Papa. I just believe good people deserve help. You don't even know me. She looked straight into his eyes. I know enough. When that woman insulted you, you didn't speak. That silence told me everything. Grandpa Joba smiled slowly. You're different. I try, she said, standing up. Think about it, Papa. We can start small, just a few baskets of okra. Even that can change something. He chuckled. You're full of ideas. I'll be back tomorrow, she said, picking up her bags. Don't disappear, okay? He waved at her. I'll be here. She smiled as she walked away. But deep in his chest, something stirred, not sadness, not shame. That evening, Grandpa Joba returned to the big mansion. As always, he entered quietly, removing his slippers at the door. He moved through the cool hallway and into the living room where his son, Daniel, was sitting with his phone. Daniel looked up. Papa, you're smiling. I met someone today, the old man said, sitting down slowly. Who? Grandpa Joba's eyes twinkled. The most respectful, kind-hearted woman I've ever seen. Daniel raised his eyebrows. Really? Yes. And I'm not talking about makeup or fancy clothes. I'm talking about character. Daniel leaned forward. Tell me what happened. Grandpa Joba explained everything. How Zina insulted him again, and how a young woman defended him, sat beside him, and even offered to start a farm with him. She didn't care about how I looked, he said. She just saw a man who needed dignity. Daniel was quiet. He looked at his father and said softly, Papa, you're not joking. I'm not, the old man replied. You know I've always loved farming. You told me to stop, to rest. But Daniel, farming is where I feel alive. His son frowned slightly. But you're old. You should enjoy your life. Rest without purpose is just waiting to die, Grandpa Joba said quietly. Farming is more than food. It's peace. It's patience. It's strength. Daniel rubbed his hand across his face. And this girl, what's her name? Amara. She sounds rare. She is, Grandpa Joba said, his voice filled with emotion. She reminded me of who I used to be. She brought light into my heart again. Daniel nodded slowly. You really believe in her? I do. And I'm telling you this, Daniel, not because I need permission, but because I've seen something special. That girl is gold. She may not have money, but she has something money can't buy, character. Daniel looked away for a moment, thinking. Papa, he said after a while, I didn't want to tell you this, but my girlfriend is coming tomorrow. Grandpa Joba leaned back in his chair. And what do you want me to do with that information? She wants to meet you. That's none of my business, Grandpa Joba said calmly. Because today, I already met the kind of woman the world needs. Daniel went quiet again. I've been watching you, Grandpa Joba continued. You have money, but you're alone. You have houses, but no joy. A wife should bring peace, Daniel. Not drama. Not pride. Not noise. Daniel whispered, I understand, Papa. No, you don't, the old man said. You say you love her. But what do you know about her? Where is she from? How does she treat strangers? You told me she's beautiful. That's fine. But can beauty feed the heart? Daniel sat in silence. I once loved a girl like that, Grandpa Joba continued. Pretty as a flower. But her words cut like thorns. My mother warned me, but I didn't listen. That girl almost broke my spirit. What happened? She left. And that was the best thing that ever happened to me. Because then, I met your mother. He smiled at the memory. She wasn't the most beautiful woman. But her heart was clean. Her hands were strong. Her love built this home. Daniel swallowed hard. So you're saying, Amara is... I'm not saying anything yet, Grandpa Joba said. Let your girlfriend come. Let me see her. But don't expect me to pretend. If I see pride, I will tell her to her face. Daniel stood up slowly and nodded. I respect that. The old man smiled. Good. I've done my part. Next morning came. Grandpa Joba was up early. He took his bath and wore clean, simple clothes. He sat in the living room, calm on the outside, but his heart beating fast. He thought about Amara's words. Papa, I can help you. He smiled to himself. Then he heard it, the sound of a car entering the compound. He didn't move. The front door opened. High heels clicked on the tiles. Then into the room walked Zina, her chin high, her eyes proud, a bag swinging by her side. She looked around. This place is nice, she said. Not as modern as mine, but still okay. Then her eyes landed on the old man on the couch. She froze. Her face turned pale. Grandpa Joba looked up, meeting her eyes. Daniel stepped forward. Papa, this is... I know who she is, Grandpa Joba said coldly. Zena swallowed hard. You? Yes, he replied, calm as ever. We've met before. Twice. Daniel looked from Zena to his father. Wait, you two know each other? Zena's lips trembled. I didn't know he was your father. Grandpa Joba sat up straighter. You didn't need to know, he said. You only needed to show respect. The room was quiet. Too quiet. Zena stood frozen, her bag still hanging on her arm. Her fancy perfume could not hide the fear growing in her chest. Daniel looked at her, confused and shocked. Zena, what is he talking about? Grandpa Joba looked calmly at his son. This is the same woman who splashed muddy water on me on the street, and laughed. Daniel turned to Zena, his eyes wide. You did that to my father? Zena opened her mouth but no words came. And yesterday, Grandpa Joba added, she insulted me in front of a crowd. Called me dirty. Called me useless. Called me the reason this country is backward. Daniel's jaw tightened. He stared at Zena, his voice low. Is this true? I didn't know he was your father, she said quickly. I thought he was just a beggar. Daniel's face fell. Just a beggar? Zena, even if he was, does that give you the right to speak that way? I didn't mean it like that, she said, her voice rising. But you said it like that, Grandpa Joba replied, firm and still. Zena turned to him. Please, sir, I'm sorry. He shook his head slowly. You're not sorry for what you did. You're sorry because of who I am. Zena's eyes filled with tears. Her lips trembled. I can change. Change doesn't start with tears, Grandpa Joba said gently. It starts with how you treat those who can do nothing for you. Daniel stood silent, arms folded, heartbroken. You said you loved me, Zena. But the woman who loves me will respect the man who raised me. She looked at him, crying now. Please, Daniel. He shook his head. It's over. Zena picked up her bag and walked out slowly, her high heels clicking like tiny thunder. The door closed behind her. The room was still again. Daniel sat beside his father, sighing deeply. Papa, I made a mistake. Grandpa Joba placed a hand on his shoulder. We all do, son. But the important thing is what we do next. The next morning, the sun rose gently over the city. Birds sang. Flowers swayed in the breeze. In a quiet neighborhood, behind a row of local stores, a young woman stood beside a small patch of land. Her hair was tied back. She wore a simple dress. In one hand she held a bag of okra seeds. In the other, a small hoe. It was Amara. She bent down, touched the earth, and smiled. The soil was soft and ready. As she stood up, she saw someone sitting under a mango tree, watching her. It was Daniel. He had no suit on. No driver. No assistant. Just a man, alone, with a lot on his mind. Their eyes met. Good morning, Amara said, her voice soft. Good morning, Daniel replied, standing up. Are you from around here? She asked. He shook his head. No. Just passing by. Needed to clear my head. She smiled. Same here. Well, sort of. I'm planning to start a small farm here. Daniel looked at the land. A farm. She laughed. Yes. Why not? Most young women I know would rather farm likes on Instagram than farm okra. She giggled. I'm not like most women. I studied agriculture. There's no job, but I still have hands. Daniel nodded. That's rare. She dropped her bag and reached out a hand. I'm Amara. He shook it. Daniel. They both smiled. She sat on a rock, brushing dirt from her dress. I'm actually helping someone. An old man who sits outside the supermarket. People think he's homeless. But he's wise and kind. Reminds me of my father. Daniel felt his heart beat faster. Yesterday, a woman insulted him. Called him names. It made me so angry I stood up for him. I couldn't just walk away. Daniel stared at her. You stood up for him? She nodded. Yes. He didn't fight back. He just sat there. That told me all I needed to know about his heart. Daniel didn't speak for a moment. She smiled. After the drama, I found out he has nowhere to stay. So I told him I'd help him start a small farm. That way, he can eat and feel useful again. Daniel looked at her closely. You didn't even know him. And yet you offered to help. Amara shrugged. He's human. That's enough reason. Silence passed between them, but it wasn't empty, it was soft. I wish more people thought like you, Daniel said. Amara laughed. We're out here. Just hidden. She stood up and dusted her knees. I need to plant these seeds before the sun gets too hot. Daniel stood too. Can I help? She raised one eyebrow. With your clean shoes and soft hands? I can learn. She smiled. All right then. Let's start with okra. And so, the two of them bent over the land, digging, planting, laughing. Two strangers. Two hearts. One small field. One big beginning. Later that day, Grandpa Joba was back at his spot near the supermarket. He sat on his wooden bench, his plastic bowl nearby, but his eyes were far away. He wasn't thinking about coins. He was thinking about Amar. He was thinking about her fire, her words, her smile. Suddenly, a voice broke into his thoughts. Papa! He looked up. It was Amara, smiling and walking toward him with a small basket in her hands. She sat beside him and opened the basket. I brought something for you, fresh vegetables and boiled groundnuts. He peeked inside and smiled. It's everything. Thank you, my daughter. They sat in peace for a moment. Then she leaned closer. Papa, I have good news. His eyes lit up. Tell me. I found land. It belongs to my uncle. I told him what I wanted to do, and he said I can use part of it for farming. It's not big, but it's enough. Grandpa Joba beamed. So, when do we start? Tomorrow morning if you're ready, she said with excitement. But the old man shook his head gently. No, he said softly. We can't go to the farm tomorrow. Her smile faded. Why not, Papa? He reached into his pocket and handed her a small piece of paper with an address. Because tomorrow, you're coming to my house. She blinked. Your house? You'll understand when you get there. But I thought you sleep in a shop. He smiled warmly. Just come. Everything will make sense. She looked at the paper. The address looked fancy. Papa, she said, tilting her head, are you hiding something from me? He chuckled. Yes. I'm hiding peace. She laughed. All right, Papa. I'll come. She paused, then added shyly, Papa, I met someone today too. Grandpa Joba leaned forward. Who? She smiled to herself. Just someone. A man. Humble. He helped me with the seeds. Grandpa Joba's eyes twinkled. I want to meet him. Maybe I'll like him too. Papa, calm down. It's not like that. He grinned. So, are we seeing tomorrow? Yes, she nodded. See you tomorrow. As she walked away, Grandpa Joba whispered to himself, let tomorrow bring the truth. The next morning, the sky was clear and the air smelled fresh. Amara stood at the front of a large black gate, holding her small handbag tightly. She looked at the piece of paper in her hand again. This is the address Papa Joba gave me, she whispered. But, this place is too fine. She looked up again. The house was huge. White walls, tall windows, beautiful flowers in the yard. The kind of place she had only seen on TV. A security man stepped out from a small door beside the big gate. Can I help you? He asked. Amara nodded. I'm here to see Papa Joba. He gave me this address yesterday. The man looked at her carefully, then said, wait here. Amara's heart began to beat faster. Her hands were a little shaky. She didn't understand what was going on, but something felt strange. After a minute, the gate opened. Come in, the security man said. Amara stepped inside slowly, her feet making soft taps on the clean, tiled ground. Her eyes moved around, trying to take it all in. Wow, she whispered. Is this really Papa Joba's house? She stopped in front of the main door and waited. Then she heard footsteps. Amara. She turned around and froze. Standing at the door, smiling gently, was Daniel. Daniel, she said, blinking. You live here? Before he could speak, another voice came from inside. My daughter. She turned quickly and gasped. It was Papa Joba, walking out of the living room in clean, simple clothes, smiling from ear to ear. Papa, she said, stepping back in shock. You live here? He chuckled warmly. Yes, I do. But you told me you sleep behind a shop. I wanted to see who you really were, he said. And I saw something beautiful. Amara looked from him to Daniel, then back again. Wait, she said, pointing. You're his son? Daniel smiled. Yes. I didn't know when we met. I found out after you left. Amara covered her mouth with her hand. She was too stunned to speak. Papa Joba walked closer. I'm sorry I hid the truth, he said. But you showed me something rare. You helped me when you thought I was poor. You sat with me. You fed me. You didn't ask for anything. Tears filled Amara's eyes. But I didn't do anything special. You did, Daniel said softly. You treated a stranger with kindness. That's not normal anymore. Silence filled the space between them. Papa Joba smiled. Amara, come inside. You're home now. She looked up slowly. Are you sure? Daniel stepped forward and reached out his hand. Just, please. She placed her hand in his. And together they walked into the house, not as strangers, but as something deeper. Later that day, Daniel and Amara sat in the living room. Papa Joba had gone to rest, leaving them alone. The room was quiet, but their hearts were full. Daniel turned to her. Amara, I need to say something. She looked at him. Okay. I know we just met, but from the moment I saw you on the farm, I felt something. You were different. You were calm, brave, honest. She blushed. Thank you. And now that my father loves you too, I know I don't want to wait anymore. He took a deep breath. Amara, I want to marry you. Her eyes widened. I know it's fast, he added. But I love you. And I don't want to waste time. Amara looked down, smiling shyly. I love you too, Daniel. I felt it the day we planted the okra. He smiled heartful. But, she added, there's something I need to do first. What is it? I need to go to my village. I must tell my parents. They've worked hard. They must know. Daniel paused. Her words echoed in his heart. My parents live in the village. He sat up straight, eyes serious. That must stop. Amar looked confused. What do you mean? My parents-in-law cannot live in the village while I live in a mansion, Daniel said firmly. Her eyes widened. I have many houses in this city, he continued. I'll give them one. They've suffered enough. It's time they rest. Tears welled in Amara's eyes. You would do that? Daniel reached out and wiped her cheek gently. Amara, I'm not just marrying you. I'm marrying your family. And I will honor them. She cried harder. No one has ever said that to me before. He held her hand. You're worth it. And from today, your joy is my joy. News spread fast. Like wind through the trees. Daniel, the quiet billionaire, was getting married. But not to a rich lady. Not to a social media star. Not to a politician's daughter. He was marrying Amara, a simple, respectful girl from the village. Some people were shocked. Others smiled. Many whispered. But no one was more angry than Zina. She was sitting at a spa when she heard it. What did you just say? She asked her friend. Daniel is marrying that girl. You know, the one who stood up to you at the supermarket. Zina's face turned red. Her hand shook. He can't do this to me, she growled. She stood up, grabbed her bag and stormed out. That night, she made a phone call. The person on the other end was a rough-looking man named Shadow, a street fixer known for doing dirty jobs. I want you to help me, she said coldly. What is it? Shadow asked. I want you to plant hard drugs inside Daniel's office. Then call the police. He'll be arrested. His wedding will scatter. Shadow was quiet. Zina continued, her voice even colder. Also, If you can finish the job, make sure that girl, Amara, never wakes up. And that old man too. I don't want to see their ugly faces ever again." She ended the call, breathing fast, thinking it was over. But what she didn't know was this. Shadow knew Daniel. Years ago, Daniel had helped Shadow's family when they were in deep trouble. He gave Shadow's sister a job, paid for their sick mother's hospital bills, even helped them rent a home when they were homeless. Shadow sat in the dark, shaking his head. "This is the man you want me to destroy?" he whispered. "Never." He picked up his phone and called Xena again. This time, he turned on the voice recorder. "Hello." Xena answered. "Tell me the plan again," Shadow said. "I need all the details." Xena laughed wickedly. "Gladly." She spoke for minutes, repeating everything. The drugs. The police tip. The threats to Amara and Grandpa Joba. Shadow saved the recording. Then, the next morning he walked straight into Daniel's office. Daniel was busy with wedding plans, talking to staff, checking invitations. "Sir," Shadow said, "I need just 10 minutes. Daniel looked up, confused. "Do I know you? You helped my family years ago. Now it's time I return the favor." Daniel sat back. "Go on." Shadow pulled out his phone and played the recording on speaker. Xena's voice filled the office like a dark wind. She laughed. She threatened. She named names. She cursed. When it ended, Daniel covered his face with both hands. She really wanted to destroy us." Shadow nodded. "But I couldn't let it happen. You don't deserve it." Daniel stood and shook his hand. "You just saved my life. Thank you." A few hours later, police officers in neat uniforms walked into a luxury restaurant. Laughter filled the room, and clinking glasses echoed in the air. Xena sat at a corner table, showing off her new gold jewelry and snapping selfies. Then she heard it. "Xena Adewole?" She looked up, confused. "Yes," she said, flipping her hair. "You're under arrest for attempted murder, drug conspiracy, and planning to destroy a man's life." The restaurant went silent. Xena's eyes widened. What? That's nonsense." 2 officers stepped forward and showed her the warrant. As they handcuffed her, she screamed, "Do you know who I am? I'm Xena. I don't belong in handcuffs." But the officers weren't listening. People stared. Some took pictures. Others whispered. Xena was dragged out like a broken statue. A few days later, the courtroom was packed. Everyone came. News reporters, bloggers, curious strangers, and even people Xena had once looked down on. Xena sat in a long black dress, her makeup heavy. Her eyes darted everywhere. But she couldn't hide the fear. The judge looked at her quietly. "We have serious accusations here," he said. "Do you deny them?" Xena nodded quickly. "Yes, Your Honor. I don't know what they're talking about. I would never do something like that." The judge turned to the officer standing by. "Play the tape." The room went quiet. A speaker was placed on the table. The officer tapped a button. Xena's voice filled the courtroom. "Plant the drugs. Call the police. He'll be arrested. I want that girl gone forever. And that dirty old man too." People gasped. Xena's smile faded. She started shaking her head. No. I was angry. I was drunk. I didn't mean it." The judge raised a hand. "Enough." The courtroom was frozen. Everyone stared at Xena like they were seeing her for the first time. "The devil didn't force you to speak," the judge said. "You planned evil and would have done it, if not for one honest man." Xena's voice dropped to a whisper. "I'm sorry." "You are not sorry," the judge replied. "You're sorry because you got caught." Then he picked up his pen and spoke clearly. "Xena Adewole, you are sentenced to 15 years in prison, with no option for bail." Xena screamed. She cried. But it was too late. Justice had spoken. Back at the mansion, Daniel sat with Amara and Papa Joba. He had just told them everything. Amara's eyes were wide. "She wanted to kill me?" "Yes," Daniel said, holding her hand. "But good people still exist." Shadow told the truth. "He saved us." Amara shivered. It could have all ended just like that. Daniel hugged her. But it didn't, because light always wins. That weekend, Daniel and Amara traveled to her village. The road was long and bumpy, but their hearts were full of purpose. When they arrived, Amara's parents came out, looking shy and surprised. Daniel went down on his knees. "Sir, I want to marry your daughter. And from today, I want you to leave this village and come live in the city. I have a house ready for you. You've worked too hard. It's time to rest." Amara's mother began to cry. Her father placed a hand on Daniel's shoulder. "God bless you, my son." That evening, the family sat outside the small house, eating roasted corn and laughing under the stars. It felt like a dream, but it was real. 1 month later, the wedding was held in the city. It was beautiful but not loud. There were no gold thrones. No fake smiles. Just love. The guests wore soft colors. Music played gently. And in the front row, Papa Joba smiled like the sun. Daniel stood at the altar, his eyes searching. Then came Amara, walking slowly in a simple white dress. No crown. No sparkle. But she looked like peace itself. When they met at the front, he whispered, "I still can't believe this is real." Amara smiled. "It's real. And it's forever." They exchanged rings. Promises from the heart. And when the crowd shouted, "You may kiss the bride," Daniel did, softly and full of love. After the wedding, the couple flew away quietly for their honeymoon. They walked barefoot on a beach, holding hands, their hearts light like feathers. "I'm glad I met you by the farm," Amara said. "I'm glad I splashed water on the wrong person," Daniel teased, laughing. She giggled. "Don't remind me." Then they both looked up at the sky, where the sun painted the clouds golden. It was the beginning of something bigger than love. It was the beginning of home. Dear viewer, this is not just a story about wealth or weddings. It's a story about character. About how we treat people when no one is watching. About kindness, humility, and standing up for what's right. So we ask you, what did you learn from this story? What part touched you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you love this story, click the like button, subscribe to our channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss another powerful tale. Thank you for watching. Stay kind, stay true, and keep believing in the magic of stories.